I do.
Bo-Katan Kryze origins, the deadly Mandalorian lieutenant. Hailing from the ruling house Kryze, Bo-Katan Kryze was a Mandalorian princess who grew up in royalty. After her father's death, Bo-Katan's sister became the Duchess of Mandalore, and Bo-Katan then decided to join the radical Death Watch group to restore Mandalore to its glory. She eventually ended up working under Darth Maul as he tried to take over Mandalore, and later teamed up with the Jedi to overthrow his rule. Her story arc has stretched from the Clone Wars to War for Mandalore and so on, and she has appeared in numerous shows such as Clone Wars, Star Wars Rebels and The Mandalorian. Today, we will explore her story arc and tell you all about this deadly Mandalorian lieutenant. Now before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
Never! No outsider will ever rule Mandalore.
Who was Bo-Katan Kryze? Early life and origins explored. Bo-Katan was a female princess from the House Kryze that ruled over Mandalore, and she was the sister of Satine Kryze, who later became the Duchess of Mandalore. Bo-Katan Kryze was initially close to Satine, who would even call her Bo. They even had a nephew named Corky Kryze, and Bo-Katan grew up on the planet Kalevala, surrounded by family. She was essentially royalty, and she also had inherited Mandalorian armor that was passed down to her from her ancestors. As a child, Bo-Katan once performed a Mandalorian initiation ritual in the Living Waters, located in the mines of Mandalore. Bo-Katan's father and several other subjects were also present during the ritual, and Bo-Katan was praised for her performance. Her father was also quite proud of her, but Bo-Katan only thought of the ritual as a performance that she had to put on for their subjects, and did not think there was anything magical in the Living Waters. After Bo-Katan's father died while serving Mandalore, Satine became the Duchess of Mandalore. She would lead the pacifists to New Mandalorians, but Bo-Katan believed that they should return to Mandalorians' older ways and embrace their martial past. Bo-Katan joined a radical Mandalorian terrorist group known as the Death Watch, which was set on restoring Mandalorians' glory. She worked under the Death Watch's leader, Pre Vizsla, and soon became his right-hand lieutenant. Bo-Katan soon started leading a unit of the Death Watch known as the Night Owls. The Death Watch allied with Count Dooku and the Confederacy of Independent Systems, but their alliance didn't work out. Kryze and the Death Watch were also exiled from the Mandalore system, and they developed quite a hatred for Count Dooku. After their exile, the Death Watch set up their base on the planet of Karlak. While working for the Death Watch, Bo-Katan took part in a mission where they saved a young Din Djarin from a separatist attack and also adopted him to be part of the Children of the Watch. Her role in the events of the Clone Wars. Around 20 BBY, Lux Bonteri reached out to the Death Watch and asked for their help in defeating Count Dooku. Dooku had killed Bonteri's mother, and he had also betrayed the Death Watch at one point. Vizsla decided to team up with Bonteri and travel to Karlak along with Bo-Katan and their troops to meet Bonteri. Here, Bo-Katan led a team of Death Watch soldiers, and she saw that Bonteri was walking alongside a Togruta girl. The girl stated that she was Bonteri's betrothed, but she was actually Ahsoka Tano, a Jedi Padawan in disguise. Bo-Katan had her suspicions about her true identity, but she guided them towards Vizsla's tent. Bonteri asked Ahsoka to leave while he talked to Vizsla, and Bo-Katan then took her to a tent for Mingpo women. These women belonged to a nearby village, and the village's chieftain, Hater, soon visited their camp and asked Vizsla to free their women. While Vizsla told him that he would let them go by morning, he soon killed the chieftain's daughter and attacked their village. Ahsoka Tano finally revealed her true identity as she could no longer watch the Death Watch destroy innocent lives, but the Death Watch captured her and took her back to their camp. At their camp base, Vizsla decided to execute Ahsoka Tano, but she somehow managed to escape, and Bo-Katan then decided to fight her. However, Vizsla asked Bo-Katan to step down, and he then fought against Tano. Tano had summoned several battle droids to help her in the fight, and she somehow even managed to escape alongside Bonteri. While Bo-Katan and two other Death Watch members followed her, they couldn't capture her, and Tano managed to get away. After some time, Bo-Katan and the Death Watch settled down on the moon of Zambar, where they came across the Sith brothers Darth Maul and Savage Opress. Darth Maul told Vizsla that they were not aligned with Dooku or anyone else, and that they only wanted to get revenge against Obi-Wan Kenobi. The Death Watch also had their eyes on Obi-Wan, as they held him responsible for their exile. While Vizsla was eager to ally with Darth Maul, Bo-Katan reminded him that their previous association with the Sith had ended poorly, and that they should be more cautious. Darth Maul attacked Bo-Katan and even used the Force choke on her, while Vizsla decided to hold a vote to determine their future. Eventually, the Death Watch Watch allied with Darth Maul and the Sith brothers to free Mandalore from the rule of Duchess Satine. Maul assembled an army known as the Shadow Collective, and Bo-Katan also travelled to the Black Sun Fortress on Mustafar to recruit more people to join the team. They also allied with Lon Pike and the Pike Syndicate, and they later hoped to recruit the Hutt clan as well. Eventually, Darth Maul forced Jabba the Hutt and the other Hutt families to join the mission, while Vizsla told Bo-Katan that he intended to betray Darth Maul once they took over Mandalore. Bo-Katan during the takeover of Mandalore. Darth Maul's Shadow Collective prepared for their attack on Mandalore's capital, Sundari, and this attack was an attempt to make the Duchess look weak. Bo-Katan thought this plan was quite risky, and that they couldn't trust the criminals who had come together to form the Shadow Collective. However, Vizsla assured Bo-Katan that he would kill the entire Shadow Collective once they had finished their mission, and Bo-Katan then left to prepare the Night Owls unit for their mission. They arrived on Mandalore, and Darth Maul's forces started attacking the population while Vizsla and Bo-Katan visited the Sundari royal palace. They met with Duchess Satine and even addressed the Sundari citizens, offering to help them defend themselves against Darth Maul. While Satine was against this, the citizens started supporting the Death Watch. Bo-Katan and Kryze returned to their ship and initiated their next course of action, wherein they captured the Pike Syndicate and Black Sun to convince the citizens that they were on their side. As the citizens started praising the Death Watch and even considered them saviors, Darth Maul's forces broke into Satine's royal palace to arrest her and the new Mandalorian leaders. Bo-Katan then introduced Vizsla as their new prime minister, and the citizens of Sundari accepted the Death Watch's rule with open arms. When Bo-Katan finally asked Darth Maul to meet the Death Watch, Vizsla told him that they would use Duchess Satine to lure Obi-Wan Kenobi to Mandalore. Darth Maul wanted to expand his rule to other star systems, and he had different plans. He soon ended up in a fight with Bo-Katan and Vizsla. The two of them used their blasters to capture Darth Maul and take him to prison alongside his brother, Savage Opress. However, the Sith brothers soon managed to escape the jail and even allied with Mandalore's former corrupt Prime Minister, Almec. The three of them broke into the palace and Darth Maul challenged Vizsla to a duel. While Vizsla was quite skilled, he was not a match for the Sith Lord, who finally decapitated Vizsla. Bo-Katan was quite distraught when Darth Maul declared himself as their new leader, and she believed that an outsider shouldn't rule over Mandalore. She gathered some of her followers from the Night Owl, who shared similar ideas, and soon fled the palace with them when Darth Maul ordered his followers to execute them. She played a key role in the war for Mandalore. After escaping Darth Maul, Bo-Katan reunited with her nephew, Corky Kryze, and his classmates. They all worked together to rescue Satine from prison, and Satine was quite skeptical after seeing Bo-Katan help them out. However, Bo-Katan told her that they shared a mutual enemy now, and Satine then proposed that they should get in touch with the Jedi Order and ask them for help. Corky informs them that their signals are now jammed, and they will have to leave Sundari to send any signals to the Jedi Order. They used Mandalorian speeder bikes to escape Sundari, and even ended up clashing with Darth Maul's Mandalorian super commandos who were trying to capture them. Satine managed to step outside city limits and send a signal to Kenobi, but Darth Maul's forces soon recaptured her. When Obi-Wan Kenobi finally arrived on Sundari, Bo-Katan observed him from a distance as he broke into the prison to free Satine. However, Kenobi's actions caught the eye of Darth Maul, who took the opportunity to execute Satine. Bo-Katan approached Kenobi, introduced herself, and even returned his lightsaber to him. When Darth Maul sent his army to capture Kenobi, Bo-Katan was stuck in the civil war between Darth Maul's forces and the Galactic Republic, and she decided to fight alongside Kenobi. She even asked Obi-Wan Kenobi to inform the Republic about the events that were taking place on Sundari, while Kenobi told her that the Republic would then invade Mandalore. Bo-Katan stated that she was willing to let the Republic take over her home planet if it meant that they could be free from Darth Maul's rule. While he returned to the Republic, Bo-Katan and the Night Owls continued to keep an eye on Darth Maul and follow his movements. They ended up running into Ahsoka Tano on Obadiah during one such mission, and they followed her to Coruscant, asking her for help in defeating Darth Maul. These events were also covered in the Clone Wars animated series, and this particular event was known as the Siege of Mandalore. Bo-Katan returned to Mandalore alongside Ahsoka Tano, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Anakin Skywalker, and they had planned to lay a siege on the planet. Kenobi wanted to speak to the Jedi Council before taking any part in the plan that would break their peace treaties and lead to more war, but Bo-Katan asked him to take direct action. She pleaded that the people of Mandalore had already been through enough, and she also used Kenobi's feelings for her sister to convince him to fight by her side. However, Kenobi insisted on talking to the Republic Republic, and they agreed to send a division of the 501st Legion to help lay the siege. While Prime Minister Almec acted as Mandalore's leader, Darth Maul controlled him behind the scenes. During the siege, Bo-Katan broke into the palace and defeated Almec, who then told her that Ahsoka Tano and the others were walking into a trap that had been laid out. Bo-Katan tried to contact Ahsoka and finally got in touch with her when the fights were almost over. The two of them even asked Obi-Wan Kenobi to send in more reinforcements, but the Jedi had to deal with Darth Sidious as well, and Kenobi was caught up in another mission. Bo-Katan then worked alongside Ahsoka Tano to defeat Darth Maul, and they then decided to interrogate Almec. However, Almec was killed by Gar Saxon, and Bo-Katan then went after him as he escaped into the Undercity. After finally getting their hands on Saxon, Bo-Katan and Ahsoka talked to the 501st Legion's leader, General Rex, who didn't want to prolong the fight. Ahsoka assured him that they would leave as soon as the fight died down and let Bo-Katan take the lead in restoring Mandalore. As they returned to the palace's throne room, they saw Darth Maul sitting atop the throne. Ahsoka started a duel with him while Bo-Katan and her forces also joined the battle against Darth Maul's forces. During all this, General Rex arrested Gar Saxon, and Ahsoka Tano finally managed to gain the upper hand in her fight against Darth Maul. Bo-Katan helped her tie him up with cable wires, and Rex even stunned him so that he couldn't evade capture. They took him into custody and even imprisoned him in a Mandalorian vault, a space capsule designed to imprison Jedi forces. Ahsoka Tano and Bo-Katan had a brief conversation, after which Tano left the planet with the rest of the Jedi and left Bo-Katan in charge of ruling over Mandalore. Bo-Katan's adventures with the Wren clan. Around 2 decades after these events, Bo-Katan and the Night Owls came across Countess Ursa Wren and her daughter Sabine Wren, who had killed Clan Saxon in 2 BBY and caused another civil war in Mandalore. Bo-Katan met them in 1 BBY, and Ursa Wren told her that they were looking for a Mandalorian worthy enough to become the Mandalore and wield the Darksaber. Bo-Katan then played a crucial role in defeating the Imperial forces on Mandalore, and Sabine Wren even presented the Darksaber to Bo-Katan. However, Katan refused to accept it because she believed she had failed in her regent responsibility. She did continue to work alongside the Wren forces and even helped them rescue Ulrich Wren from the grasp of the Imperial forces. While Bo-Katan helped Sabine in saving Ulrich Wren, Ursa Wren and her son Tristan Wren had been caught up in an attack caused by the weapon known as the Arc Pulse Generator. This was a generator that could incinerate anyone who wore Mandalorian armor, and Ursa's entire force was destroyed in the attack. However, Ursa and Tristan somehow managed to survive this attack and even managed to somehow escape. Bo-Katan later learned that Sabine was responsible for creating the weapon, and she then scolded her for making a weapon that only targeted Mandalorian armor. They devised a plan to travel to the Mandalorian capital of Sundari and destroy the Star Destroyer stored at Governor Saxon's residence. However, they were ambushed by Saxon's forces, and Sabine then reprogrammed the Arc Pulse Generator to destroy anyone wearing Stormtrooper armor. Sabine wanted to kill Governor Saxon, but Bo-Katan made her realize that this would make her no better than the Empire, and she finally destroyed her weapon. These events were also covered in the Clone Wars animated series, and Bo-Katan eventually returned to the Wren base, where Vizsla, Rook, and other warrior representatives joined them. Bo-Katan eventually accepted the Darksaber and took the responsibility of leading their forces, but a particular sect of the Mandalorians known as the Children of the Watch rejected her as their leader. They believed that Bo-Katan had not earned the Darksaber, and that she needed to win it in battle in order to become a true leader. After some time had passed, the Empire launched the Great Purge on Mandalore, which resulted in a mass genocide of the Mandalorians, and Bo-Katan even lost the Darksaber during these events. Eventually, the Darksaber ended up with an Imperial Security Bureau officer named Gideon. Bo-Katan's encounter with Din Djarin. In the New Republic era, Bo-Katan and her team tried to find survivors of the Great Purge and reclaim Mandalore. During their search, Bo-Katan unknowingly rescued a member of the then intended to take over Mandalore once again. During their mission, they unknowingly rescued a member of the Children of the Watch, known as Din Djarin. Djarin was traveling with his foundling, also known as the Child. This entire story arc is extensively covered in the Mandalorian television series, wherein Djarin approaches Bo-Katan for help rescuing the Child from the clutches of Moff Gideon. Bo-Katan agrees to help him, but on condition that she should be able to fight Gideon on her own. She wanted to win the Darksaber from him, but Djarin was the one to defeat him and claim the weapon. After rescuing Grogu, Bo-Katan settled on Kalevala and had lost all motivation to fight for Mandalore when Djarin approached her again. He wanted to bathe in the living waters in the mines of Mandalore, and Bo-Katan guided him to the mines. However, he ended up in trouble, and Grogu then visited Bo-Katan and asked her for help in rescuing him. Once Djarin was safely rescued, rescued, Bo-Katan spotted the mythical creature known as the Mythosaur, and Jaren even took her to the Children of the Watch's base. Here, Bo-Katan met their leader, the Armorer, and she later even helped them on a mission to rescue a foundling. Bo-Katan earned their respect following this incident, and the Armorer then asked her to remove her helmet. Furthermore, the Armorer believed that Bo-Katan would lead the people of Mandalore towards a better future.
You have the wisdom of a ruler. There's no one I trust to wield the Darksaber more than you.
What was Bo-Katan like in terms of her personality? Bo-Katan was quite a confident warrior who didn't shy away from any battles and faced every situation bravely. She took a lot of pride in her work and was quite committed to her role in the Death Watch's attempt to restore Mandalorian glory. She was loyal to the Death Watch's leader and could even be trusted to take the lead in his absence. While Bo-Katan had her differences with her sister, she was pretty sad when she died. Bo-Katan also possessed extreme views about the Sith and the Jedi, and she even believed that they were equally bad. Over time, Kenobi changed her view of the Jedi by siding with her during a mission. Bo-Katan was an exemplary warrior on the battlefield, and she could withstand severe physical punishments without blinking an eye. She was a straightforward person who wasn't afraid of the consequences of sharing her views with her opponents. When Darth Maul almost choked her to death, Bo-Katan stood there with a smirk on her face and didn't shy away from sharing her views about the Sith in front of him. When Bo-Katan led the Night Owls, she still strived to help the members of the Death Watch whenever she could, and she always stepped up to fight in any battle. Bo-Katan's impactful performances in Star Wars: The Clone Wars animated series. Katie Sackhoff voiced Bo-Katan's character in the 2008 Clone Wars animated series, where she first appeared in the 4th season. In an episode titled A Friend in Need, Bo-Katan appeared as the lieutenant of the Death Watch. At the time, the Death Watch was trying to overthrow the Mandalorian government, and Bo-Katan was leading the Night Owls unit of the Death Watch. When Lux Bonteri approached the Death Watch to come together and defeat Count Dooku, he travelled alongside Ahsoka Tano and R2-D2 to Karlak to meet with them. At the time they came across Bo-Katan and Ahsoka Tano, they sent her to work alongside the women of a local village who were enslaved by the Death Watch. When Bo-Katan burned down the village under the Death Watch's orders, Ahsoka revealed herself as a Jedi and tried to fight them. However, Ahsoka was soon defeated and then captured by the Death Watch, but she managed to escape. When Ahsoka escaped with R2-D2 and Lux Bonteri, Bo-Katan went after them and tried to kill Ahsoka, but the Jedi warrior fought fiercely and defeated Bo-Katan. Bo-Katan later appeared in the show's 5th season, wherein the Death Watch had joined forces with Darth Maul to stage a coup on Mandalore and get rid of the Duchess Satine Kryze. At the time, Bo-Katan believed that the Sith and the Jedi were equally bad, and she also didn't trust their Sith allies. When the Death Watch finally defeated Satine and took over Mandalore, they betrayed Darth Maul, and Vizsla then decided to rule over Mandalore. However, Darth Maul refused to accept this, and he even killed Vizsla to take control of Mandalore. Bo-Katan didn't like the idea of an outsider ruling over the planet, and she then regrouped alongside with some members of the Death Watch who were loyal to her and not Darth Maul. She escaped with this team and tried to free Duchess Satine. Eventually, Obi-Wan Kenobi arrived on Mandalore to take care of the situation, and he sided with Bo-Katan to fight against Darth Maul. However, Maul murdered Duchess Satine and even captured Obi-Wan Kenobi. Bo-Katan later rescued Kenobi, who returned to the Galactic Republic to bring additional forces to Mandalore to defeat Darth Maul. In the show's last season, Bo-Katan and her team of Night Owls continued to resist Darth Maul's rule in Mandalore. They once went on a mission to Obi-Daya, where Bo-Katan and the Night Owls spotted Ahsoka Tano and then travelled to Coruscant to ask her for help. Bo-Katan managed to convince Ahsoka to help them, and Ahsoka then contacted the Republic, even asking Kenobi and Skywalker for help in defeating Darth Maul. While the Jedi were initially hesitant to get involved, they finally sent a part of the 501st Legion under the command of Commander Rex to Mandalore. They invaded Mandalore and laid down the siege of Mandalore, finally overthrowing Darth Maul's rule. She also appeared in Star Wars Rebels. Bo-Katan appeared in the 4th season of Star Wars Rebels, and she also made an appearance in the television film called Heroes of Mandalore. When the Galactic Empire had taken over Mandalore, Bo-Katan put her foot down and refused to work for the Empire. She was abdicated and even thought of herself as an unworthy leader. When Sabine Wren recovered the Darksaber from Darth Maul, Bo-Katan even refused to use the weapon. When Bo-Katan appeared in Heroes of Mandalore, she teamed up with her Mandalorian allies to work alongside the Ghost Crew. Sabine had created a weapon in the form of the Duchess, and Bo-Katan was against using it. She worked alongside her crew to destroy it, but Bo-Katan and Sabine were both captured by Governor Tiber Saxon. Saxon threatened to kill Bo-Katan if Sabine did not upgrade the Duchess, and Sabine then reprogrammed the weapon to target stormtrooper armor. The weapon could then kill Saxon, but Bo-Katan told Sabine not to stoop to the Empire's level. Sabine listened to her and even destroyed the weapon, and Bo-Katan finally accepted the Darksaber. She then became the new ruler of Mandalore, and all the Mandalorians who were still alive decided to pledge their loyalty to her. Bo-Katan had her first live-action appearance in The Mandalorian. Katie Sackhoff later played Bo-Katan Kryze in the Mandalorian live-action series, where she first appeared in the show's second season. Bo-Katan first appeared in Chapter 11, The Heiress, where she works alongside Cosca Reeves and Axe Woves to free Din Djarin, aka the Mandalorian, and the Child from a tough situation. When a group of Quarren cornered Din Djarin and the Child, Bo-Katan rescued them, and she introduced herself, sharing her history with Djarin. We further learn that Djarin was a child of the Watch, a cult that followed strict rules known as the Way. Since Bo-Katan and her friends didn't follow the Way, Djarin initially didn't trust them. Later, Bo-Katan rescued Djarin from another situation, and then he started to trust her and even helped her and her team to seize some weapons from an Imperial freighter. Meanwhile, Bo-Katan helps the Mandalorian and tells him where he could find a Jedi. Bo-Katan was also trying to get her hands on the Darksaber and even asked the Mandalorian to accompany her on her journey. However, Djarin decided to continue on his quest to find a Jedi, and Bo-Katan directed him to find Ahsoka Tano on Corvus. Bo-Katan later appeared in Chapter 16, The Rescue, wherein the Mandalorian and Boba Fett found themselves in a tough spot after the Child, aka Grogu, was captured by Moff Gideon. The Mandalorian approached Bo-Katan and asked her to help them rescue Grogu, and Bo-Katan would also get into fights with Boba Fett during the mission. She considered Boba a disgrace since he was a clone, but she had laid her differences aside and agreed to help them on the condition that they would help her retrieve the Darksaber from Gideon. During the fight, the Mandalorian defeated Gideon while Bo-Katan desired to go up against him to win the Darksaber for herself. Eventually, the Mandalorian presented the Darksaber to Bo-Katan, but she turned it down since the weapon must be won in combat. Bo-Katan had plans to take control over Mandalore after getting her hands on the Darksaber, but her plan didn't work out after failing to win the weapon on her terms. In Chapter 17, The Apostate, Bo-Katan resided at a castle on Kalevala, where she had settled down after failing to get her hands on the Darksaber. The Mandalorian and Grogu paid her a visit at her castle, as the Mandalorian wanted to know where to go to bathe in the living waters that were situated in the mines of Mandalore. In the next episode, Chapter 18, The Mines of Mandalore, the Mandalorian fell into a trap, and Grogu then approached Bo-Katan, requesting her to come to the Mandalore's aid. While Bo-Katan had heard many dangerous things about the living waters, she agreed to help them and even went to the mines of Mandalore. The Mandalorian was dragged underwater while bathing in the living waters. Bo-Katan rescued him and even came across the legendary mythosaur that was supposed to be extinct. In Chapter 19, The Convert, Bo-Katan returned to her castle with Djarin and Grogu, but they were attacked by Imperial forces who destroyed her castle. Djarin brought Bo-Katan to the Children of the Watch's covert hidden base, and the covert accepted both Djarin and Bo-Katan since they had both bathed in the living waters. However, the covert and their leader, the Armorer, were unaware of Bo-Katan's true identity as she hadn't removed her helmet. In Chapter 20, The Foundling, Bo-Katan led a rescue party to find the Foundling. Ragnar Vizsla, a winged raptor, had kidnapped Vizsla, and Bo-Katan rescued Ragnar and even got her hands on the raptor's chicks. She brought these chicks back to their covert's enclave, and the Armorer was so impressed that he forged her a new pauldron. While talking to the Armorer, Bo-Katan mentioned the mythosaur she saw on Mandalore, but the Armorer didn't believe her. Her recent big role in Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 5, has been very widely appreciated. In the next episode, titled Chapter 21, The Pirate, Bo-Katan captured the audience's attention, and her role was quite appreciated by the viewers. Chapter 21 was the 5th episode of the 3rd season, and fans especially liked how the story arc was so focused on Bo-Katan and her return to Mandalore. In this episode, the Armorer asked Bo-Katan to remove her helmet, and while Bo was hesitant at first, she finally showed her unmasked face. While fans expected the Armorer to shun Bo-Katan, she was surprisingly declared that Bo-Katan might just be the one to reunite the Mandalorians. While the Armorer had previously shunned Djarin for doing the same, she saw a different potential in Bo-Katan and decided that she should be the one to lead the Mandalorians. The Armorer believed that Bo-Katan's origins as a royal, along with her history with the Death Watch and her role in the rebellion, had made her quite a unique warrior. While the Children of the Watch had initially objected to Bo-Katan's role as a leader before the Great Purge, Bo-Katan had finally earned the covert's respect after rescuing Ragnar Vizsla. She had thereby completed her journey as a Mandalorian, and the armourer also believed that Bo-Katan spotting the mythosaur was another sign that she would reunite the Mandalorians. As the story progresses, fans are incredibly excited to witness Bo-Katan's story arc as she finally gets a chance to reclaim Mandalore and unite her people. What makes Bo-Katan so powerful? Bo-Katan was a well-trained warrior with unmatched combat skills, and she was also Pre-Vizsla's second-in-command in the Death Watch. She even defeated most of her former Death Watch allies during a fight, and she was usually known for using her jetpack as her preferred weapon. Bo-Katan was skilled in flying her jetpack, and she also carried blaster pistols that were fitted into the thigh plates of her armour. Bo-Katan's Mandalorian armour was made out of metallic grey and blue plates, and she also had a custom helmet fitted with the rangefinder. Her helmet was designed to appear as a predatory bird, which was also aligned with her role in the Night Owls. Her armour also had built-in weapons and mounted weapons such as blades, dart launchers and blasters. Conclusion. To sum it up, Bo-Katan Kryze had quite an extensive story arc across the Star Wars universe, and she has certainly proved herself as a fierce warrior. Bo-Katan has especially caught the audience's eye in the recent Mandalorian series, and she remains to be one of the most iconic characters in the franchise. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't done so already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.